Welcome, fellow horror hounds, and welcome to the latest episode of Talk and Stalk, your unholy home for horror. I'm your host, as always, Barry, and today's podcast is really just going to be me talking about what is certainly one of my favourite B movies of all time, if not my favourite. Killer Klowns from Outer Space. Now, this film was released in '88. I was actually 6 years old when this came out. I was probably about 8 or 9 years old when I first watched this, and I instantly fell in love with it. This is a film that I return to quite a lot, just because it's just so damn fun. You know, I think Killer Clowns from Outer Space is a film that very much stands out from the crowd. I think this is a film that's certainly unique. I don't think there's any other film out there quite like it. It's a film that really kind of brings a lot of fresh, innovative ideas to the table and kind of puts a unique spin on the alien invasion formula, which even at this point, alien invasion films have pretty much been done to death. And with Killer Clowns from Outer Space, it's just a film that doesn't take itself seriously at all. I just think it's a fun, entertaining film. It's short and sweet. I can understand, it'd probably be scary for people that have a fear of clowns. There's actually a lot of people that are coulrophobic out there. I mean, there are actually a couple of moments in this film that do actually manage to be a little darker. And there's certainly one scene in particular that certainly plays on people's fears, or coulrophobic fears, should I say. But, I've probably seen this film, I'd imagine probably between 15 to 20 times now. It's a film I've never really got bored of, right from the opening theme by the Dickies. I just think the theme's great. It's so cheesy, but so goddamn catchy. This was directed by the Chiodo brothers. It's the one and only film they've ever actually directed. And Killer Clowns very much does have a cult following to it. This wasn't like a huge box office hit or anything like that, but it has a loyal cult following. There's actually been quite a bit of Killer Clowns, a lot of which has been unofficial, but there's been a hell of a lot of Killer Clowns merchandise that's been churned out over the years. I just think the clowns in this film look great. I mean, obviously they're aliens, but disguised as clowns. I still think the practical effects, despite this having a pretty small budget, I think the practical effects are actually very good and still hold up quite well now. Some of the moments I love in this film, a particular highlight for me. That's the thing. I think there's so many standout scenes in this film, but one of the definite highlights for me is actually when the clown called Slim, actually. Now, all of the clowns actually do have names, but obviously none of the names are actually mentioned in the movie. It wasn't really until the merchandising, some of the figures and so forth started coming out, that these clowns, they were given names. Is the shadow puppet scene at the bus stop. It's just great. Obviously, the clown is mesmerizing the audience of people waiting at the bus stop and, doing these shadow puppets on the wall, everything from it gets really OTT, a bunny rabbit and then to a ship, and then it ends up as a T-Rex, and the T-Rex comes off the wall and eats them. The little puppet show that Spike actually puts on, a little kind of Punch and Judy-esque show. A little moment early on in the film, actually quite early on, where they're giving chase to Mike and Deb, and he makes a balloon animal, a dog, and then the dog starts barking. This is a film that goes all out. It doesn't take itself seriously. It's just having fun. It's a movie that's just having fun. There's one dark moment in the film, actually, that it's the scene I was talking about. This is the scariest scene in the movie. This is the scene that I think a coulrophobic would be absolutely terrified of. This scene, and it's where the clown, I believe his name is Jumbo, is actually trying to lure a young girl away from her parents. She's at a diner, and he's pointing towards her, and he's trying to get her to come out, and you can see that he's got a big mallet hidden behind his back. That whole scene is, I can fully understand why people would be really creeped out by that scene. A clown that trying to lure a little girl away, and obviously with the intention of killing her. Um, and I think another definite standout scene for me in this movie is actually in the police station with John Vernon, who of course is in this film. John Vernon, the ever great John Vernon. Obviously, Animal House, and this he plays Officer Mooney. He's a bit of a, excuse my language, bit of a dick. A bit being a bit of a understatement. He doesn't believe in this alien invasion, and what I love about this, there's actually a great sense of foreshadowing as well, because he actually says earlier on in the film, "You're not going to make a dummy out of me," and he ends up essentially as a ventriloquist dummy in the police station. A great moment, a standout scene that really actually manages to be quite creepy. He's actually using him as a ventriloquist dummy. And he pulls his hand out of him. And Jumbo was actually the first clown to be killed. That's when we realised that obviously the clowns, their weakness is the nose, shoot him in the nose. The film just has a lot of real kind of standout moments, standout scenes. I think with Debbie, for instance, where Debbie obviously just come out of the shower, and we've got these clown, I don't even know what you call, like clown heads on stalks. There's one that comes out the toilet, and they're in the wash basket in the thing, and and of course one of the highlights as well. One scene that I think a lot of fans really talk about is the scene where Shorty actually punches a biker's head off. The biker actually, he approaches this biker gang, and this one biker in particular starts smashing, demolishing Shorty's bike, and then you kind of feel sorry for him, and he jumps out, and he's got these little boxing gloves on, and he's like, "What are you going to do? Knock my block off?" And he punches his head, and it goes right in the bin. And then there's this evil maniacal laugh as he does it afterwards. And then Clownzilla, as he was named at the end of the movie, which was actually, it was very well done actually, because it was just a guy in a suit, but obviously what they did, they gave us, the way it was filmed gave us the impression it was this huge, King Kong sized clown that clearly the other clowns are even scared of, when he approaches at the end and that. Killer Klowns from Outer Space, it's one of them films that I would love to see a sequel. But it's certainly not a necessity. Now, I know that the Kyoto brothers have talked about a sequel now for years, on and off. There was even just an announcement last year. I took it with a pinch of salt. At the end of the day, it's the internet. You've got to be really careful as to what source you're reading it from. Is that there were plans to revive it as a TV series, as kind of I'm not sure if it would be a reboot, a follow-on as such. I'd love to see something like that happen. I just think it's really unlikely, which is a shame. The Kyoto brothers have shown a lot of interest, but for years, people have been fans have been clamouring for a sequel. Now, I certainly think there's the potential for one. I feel like, assuming the right ideas were done, I feel like they could actually kind of expand upon it somewhat. There's still a lot of stuff that they could probably, kind of tinker with and throw, a lot of new ideas out there, etc. But at the same time, it's not a necessity. I think Killer Klowns from Outer Space is a perfectly good film in its own right. Now, I understand there's people out there that really aren't into kind of B movies. They can't get past the kind of silly nature of movies like this. I kind of get that. I'm into all types. I'm into all subgenres of horror. Be it supernatural, be it slasher, be it psychological. I'm a huge fan of psychological horror movies. But then I just like kind of cheesy, easy to watch horror flicks, films that don't take themselves seriously. And Killer Klowns is certainly one of them films. I remember introducing my brother to it. I think he was probably about 5 or 6 years old when he first watched it. He really liked it. And it is a film that I've actually suggested and recommended to quite a lot of people. over the years, and it was actually on Netflix at one point. I don't believe it's on there now, but I would recommend this film to anyone that just wants to see a good, fun film. Now, obviously, I've talked a lot about spoilers. I've talked about a lot of various scenes in this film. You pretty much kind of know what you're getting with a movie like this. There's no like big unexpected surprises or anything like that. Um, I like the whole idea. This film just brings a lot of kind of like weird, kind of twisted ideas of candy floss being used to store human bodies, popcorn guns. I mean, killing people with popcorn. I mean, we don't actually witness that happen, but there is a scene quite early on in the film. Now, I'm sure a lot of people probably know of an American comedian called Titus. He had a very short-lived but relatively successful comedy series. He actually appears in this film very briefly, mind. He ends up as a victim very early on in this film, but he's in it. And yeah, Killer Klowns from Outer Space. One of my favourite B. It probably is my favourite B movie. I don't think I've seen any. Obviously, The Evil Dead 1981, which is supposed is actually a B movie as well. Evil Dead is, yeah, right up there. I mean, Evil Dead probably is my favourite B movie of all time. But Killer Klowns from Outer Space isn't too far off. And as I said, it was released in '88, and 33 years ago almost. And I still think it's a film that could possibly attract new audiences now. I don't feel like enough people have seen it. It certainly does have a big loyal cult following, but kind of among the mainstream, I guess. It's just, you tell people about this film, and the title pretty much says it all. You mention the title to this film, and they're like, seriously, are you serious? There's actually a film called that. But I believe among die-hard, ardent horror fans, they'd know this film. It probably needs no introduction. But yeah, I just have a great fun time with this movie every time I watch it. As I said, I think the clowns look great. I think the clowns look great. There's a lot of different clowns in this film. Some clowns are definite standouts, like Shorty. And one of the moments in the film where we actually realise that they're actually drinking our blood. There's actually one that's quite appropriately called Fatso, I believe, that's actually drinking the blood from one of these bodies from the candy floss with this huge, almost seemingly never-ending, wiry straw. And of course, it's the clown. The clown tent is a spaceship and all that. But I just think it's a film that stands out. I think it's a film. I like it for how unique it is, for the simple fact of there isn't any other movie like it. I've seen plenty of B movies over the years. I've seen a lot of good B movies that certainly are unique in their own right. But this is one that's, I think, one of the best examples of a B movie. I think it's a great example of a film that manages to be pretty original. And, it's good to see that it does have a fan base. I didn't realise how big of one until last year when I posted a picture of Killer Klowns in a Facebook group and I said, are there any other fans out there? And within the space of 2 days, it was nearly just over 700 likes, I think. So, and I'll quickly say as well, the flesh-eating pies that are thrown near the end of the movie, great stuff. Just brilliant. It just gives you an idea of just how ridiculous this movie is. You've got this little car and there's about 6-7 clowns all pile out of this little, it's like impossible that they could all fit in there, and they all throw these pies at this security guard, and then Shorty, tip of the iceberg, just puts the apple or the cherry, I think it's a large cherry, puts it on top of the melted mess that was the security guard. Again, another great little moment. But that's all I really wanted to talk about today. I'd like to see a sequel. I just don't see it happening, which is kind of a shame. But at the same time, another film that I've talked about that I'd love to see a sequel to is Trick or Treat 2. But at the moment, I'd say it's very much a 50-50. It probably won't happen. But at least these two films they stand on their own two legs. They're good. They're good in their own right. So yeah. Okay, that's it for today. Thanks to everyone that listened. Take care, and I'll be back again soon to haunt you and torment you. And if you've liked what you've heard, please feel free to subscribe to my channel, Talk and Stalk, and take care for now.